Hello and welcome back to Piano Lessons Boulder. This is part 2 of the video tutorial on the first movement of Haydn's Sonata in E flat. In Haydn's time, his sonatas were published as for either harpsichord or piano because society hadn't yet completely made the transition from harpsichord to piano. But of course, the fortepiano would be a much more suitable instrument for his sonatas because it's touch sensitive and therefore more expressive. But if we take the first 24 measures of the sonata, you will see how he begins in the percussive style of the harpsichord and then transitions to the more cantabile pianistic style. So here is the percussive style, the harpsichord style. Now, one very important observation is that whenever there is a slur on two notes, where in any composer, even if it's Brahms, but most particularly when it is Mozart or Haydn, when there's a slur on two notes, observe it meticulously. The first note is emphasized and the second note is lighter and shorter. All right. Now Haydn transitions to the cantabile style here. So you see, be aware of these, how it goes back and forth between these two styles. Of course, it really takes off from and that is a very significant section. And then that brings us to the end of the exposition and the beginning of the development. The beginning of the development is quite amazing because it anticipates the romantic style that is to follow Hummel and other early romantics. So play it very expressively as you can. So I'll just start that again. Surprisingly romantic, and at the same time, because it is contrapuntal, because it is like a two-part invention, Haydn is also bowing to it's a bow in the direction of his illustrious predecessor Bach. Now he takes up the other important theme in the first movement. It starts in C minor now, the relative minor of E flat major, the key of the sonata, and he journeys effortlessly through a number of keys in this wonderful passage. was a bit of Sturm und Drang there in the development section, which often occurs in Mozart and Haydn, always very briefly, but still exciting. Sturm und Drang, storm and stress, of which the romantics who were to follow would be much more fond of. Then we reach, and after a brief cadenza, you have the recapitulation. And then the recap. So, again, there is a place where it becomes very, very expressive. Let's take it from. And then that wonderful passage comes back. And so on. And now it is interesting that this movement really ends at measure 189. And then Haydn literally tracks on a lenti cadenza. I mean, not cadenza, coda, this a lenti coda. And so on. And ends, it's a very original, almost unique ending. He seems to smile at the end and say, okay, I think it's time to end. And there is this unpretentious ending. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy playing this most beautiful of sonata movements for the piano. It is also one of the recommended pieces for the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto, their degree exam, the ARCT. Associate of the Royal Conservatory of Music, Toronto. I will also be making videos on the second and the third movements of this beautiful sonata. So enjoy playing it as I have for so many years. I will conclude by saying that in 1982, when I was young, I was invited by the Austrian consulate to perform this sonata in a concert commemorating the 250th birth anniversary of Haydn. He was born in 1732 and this concert was in 1982, as I said, when I was still young. And I remember one of the connoisseurs, one of the greatest connoisseurs of music in that city, Bombay, he came up to me after he said, I am so happy that you made the beginning of the development section romantic, so don't be afraid, play from the heart. I mean, Haydn is exceptionally expressive there from measures 65 to 78, and even though it cannot be strictly called romantic music because it isn't, but it is very expressive for the period. All right? And thank you very much for watching. And until we see each other again next time.